Okay, let's talk about the Clippers. Look at some long-term stuff, short-term stuff, the whole thing. Real quick, there doesn't seem to be a lot there between them and Harden, and if the Clippers and Sixers are even talking like that, so we'll just kind of leave that to the side for right now. I don't know how many chances this team has left, but it's certainly not a whole lot. As PG is 33, Kawhi is 32, which is not super old to be fair, but with the injuries, And we understand the situation. The health of Kawhi and PG is just massive, not just in the sense of can they get through a whole playoff run or playoff series. I mean, we saw what happened after the first 2 games of the Sun series where Kawhi was amazing. And I say that matter-of-factly, but we got to remember, when Kawhi has been able to play, he has still been fantastic. But also, just what's it going to be in the regular season, and are they, even if they make the playoffs, starting in a worse position because they're the 6th seed as opposed to the 3 seed or whatever. And of course, look, I am not saying that Kawhi or Paul George should play through injuries. If you're hurt, you should sit. We all get this. But of course, the thing with Kawhi and PG right now is that both of their contracts don't have a whole lot of time left, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of news surrounding negotiations there, and you can kind of wrap your brain into a million different things trying to predict an extension with these guys, because they might just be like, hey, give us all the years, all the money. And the Clippers would be like, bro, we can't do that. Given the games you guys have missed, can we meet in the middle in some way? With which maybe Kawhi and PG would be totally chill with meeting in the middle in whatever way. I mean, I don't know. The Clippers also have a new arena opening up soon, and I'm assuming they want to be good for that. If you look at their draft pick situation, they actually have picks in the distant future. Enough time has passed now, but I'm going to make a prediction, which can obviously be wrong. I do not think this front office wants to move any more firsts. As far as how Steve Ballmer would feel about that, I don't know. I mean, as I say that, they got Marcus Morris's expiring contract and all that. Anyway, let's go on to the roster. And speaking of Marcus Morris, I think Clipper fans do not want to see much more of Marcus Morris in the rotation. So we will see for next season. But look, the big thing with these guys when they were healthy, for me, was always, well, Kawhi and PG are great, but this team sometimes doesn't get to the basket enough. And the stat to look at for that, granted, season stats for these guys get a little weird just because of the games missed and stuff, but last year they were 7th least in the league in field goal attempts at the rim. And they were middle of the pack in free throw attempts per game. I mean, you got to start with Norm Powell, who just makes a living off of attacking the basket as much as he can. And also with his 3-ball for the past good amount of years at this point. Norm is just a good fit playing off of those two. Well, between Terrence Mann, who can attack off the catch, Westbrook, who of course can get downhill. Sure, there's going to be some other things there between shot selection. Where's the jumper at? Where does Ty Lue space him out on the floor to where it's easier for him to attack off the catch and cut, as opposed to just kind of drift, and so maybe that's the corner. He did have a few more moments here and there of setting screens on and off ball for the Clippers. Of course, they had to lean on him more when they had the injuries and stuff in the playoffs. But okay, he can get downhill. And actually, to go back to Terrence Mann real quick, we will see if Terrence Mann just gets more responsibility on the ball like that. It feels like, at least lately, they leaned into that a little bit more, so I don't know. You got KJ Martin, who's already got the DNA of a guy who's looking to screen and cut and all that stuff. Zubats and Plumlee, while neither one of them's amazing, that's a pretty solid center rotation where both of them can screen and roll. Zubats occasionally will body dudes up around the rim, and Plumlee's a good passer. Bones Highland is looking to cook. BJ Boston, you're hoping can be an ISO scorer. It hasn't totally hit like that. Kobe Brown is this interesting prospect where he's really strong and he's just kind of a brute force attacking the basket, so that's another guy who can get downhill for you. He's also got some passing out of the post and stuff. Kobe Brown's an interesting player. We'll see with his minutes like that. Of course, Nick Batum just remains super solid on both sides of the floor. And you would hope that Covington can still be that for you. I mean, Covington, the description of him has been the same for what feels like his whole career now. He's good from 3. He's a good team defender. He's not as good of an on-ball defender as he is a team defender. And he can give you some small ball 5 in some minutes here and there. And we'll see if Jason Preston can give him anything. Real quick on their defense. So last year they were 18th in defensive rating. And maybe this is just me being an optimist, but I think with just less Marcus Morris, more Terrence Mann, Batum, Covington, and just hopefully enough health from Kawhi and PG, I know that they'll just be better than that. And sure, Kawhi and PG need to conserve energy more than they had to in their younger days. Even so, they can be great defensively when they need to. Yeah, I don't know. I think they'll be fine on defense. It's a decent team, with the idea being that if Kawhi and PG are at their peaks, and, I mean, listen, peak Kawhi is still terrifying, then they can make some noise. But, I mean, look, let's not kid ourselves. Kawhi and PG are most likely going to miss some games, which means you look at a guy like Russ, and I mean, hell, besides the fact that he was the best you could have asked him to be, I think, on the Clippers, he's also just going to be an innings eater for you because you're just going to be desperate for that this season. So yeah, that's your team. I will say, I do think they could use another shooter. Like, it feels like they went from, oh, this team has plenty of shooting to like, maybe you could use like Luke Kennard, but not Luke Kennard because, of course, Ty Lue didn't trust him and then they traded him. And, of course, Eric Gordon is now in Phoenix, which for the Clippers, I mean, they saved an insane amount of money on the luxury tax or whatever. Not that I care, but yeah, that's why they did it. And then the thing to go with all this for the Clippers, of course, is that the West is competitive as hell. And especially in that sort of middle ground where, I mean, look, the Clippers last year, they finished with the 5th seed. Granted, that was decided on like basically the last day of the season. But, I mean, if we're in for another season like that for them, then, I mean, hell, they were one game away from the play-in tournament, man. Like, yeah, it's going to be tough.